A very good evening and a warm welcome to our second edition of UBC News Tonight on this 21st day of March 2022. I'm Loreen Masika Kazimoto and my colleague Elizabeth Nakakoni on sign language interpretation. Now we start off this bulletin with our first headlining story of the evening. President Yoweri Museveni has defined the untimely death of the Speaker of Parliament a great loss to Uganda. He extended condolences to the family and all Ugandans and directed that all flags must fly at half-mast. Now we take a look at what the President posted on his Twitter handle. He says, yesterday at about 12:40 p.m. it was my sad duty to announce the untimely death of our Speaker, the Right Honourable Jacob Oulanyah, MP for Omoro. He continued to say that today I add the following. Number one, I extend my condolences, the condolences of my family and of all Ugandans to the children of Oulanyah and to his wider family. The government and the NRM will always stand with them. I will say more about Right Honourable Oulanyah in the coming days. Secondly, I have activated the National Organizing Committee under the Honourable Babalanda to organize the official burial of the late Speaker. They know what to do. And thirdly, I have directed that the flags in Uganda fly at half-mast until the burial of the Right Honourable Jacob Oulanyah. This is provided for in the official burial procedures. More will be said and communicated as we go along. More will be said as we go along. Signed, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, General Retired, President and Chairman of the NRM. Right, now Cabinet has declared the position of the Speaker of Parliament vacant following the demise of the Right Honourable Jacob Oulanyah. The Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, announced at the media briefing the Cabinet resolution taking in account the burial arrangements of the departed Speaker of Parliament, late Jacob Oulanyah. The Uganda Constitution Article 82 states that this, subject to Article 81, Clause 4 of the Constitution, says no business shall be transacted at Parliament other than an election to the election of the Speaker at any time the office is vacant. Take a look.
Constitution of Uganda, Article 82, Clause 4 states that, subject to Article 81, Clause 4 of the Constitution, no business shall be transacted at Parliament other than the election of the Speaker at any time the office is vacant. Today, Cabinet has declared the position of the Speaker of Parliament vacant. Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, told journalists at the media center in Kampala.
Which definitely means that the vacancy for position of Speaker, that the position of the Speaker is now vacant because our Speaker of Parliament has died.
Baryomunsi says Cabinet has resolved that Parliament shall convene on Friday, March 25th this week to fill the vacancy of the Speaker, hence calling upon all political parties to start the process.
Have announced means that now political parties can start their internal processes to get flag bearers for the position of Speaker. So we beg for understanding and the public to understand that as we do this, it may appear that we are in a hurry, but we are in a hurry to fulfill the provisions of not only the law, but the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land.
Burial arrangements of the Speaker shall begin soon as the body arrives in the country, and the National Organizing Committee shall communicate the program to the public once it's set.
Seen on social media, many people now issuing a program when the body is arriving, when burial shall take place. That's not from us, that's not from government. Once the National Organizing Committee has drawn the final program, then we shall communicate it to the public. Then we shall announce to the public through the media the exact date and the time when the body is arriving. But as of now, the arrangements are not yet concluded with respect to repatriating the body back to Uganda.
The minister also clarified on allegations that the fallen speaker was poisoned and advised Ugandans to wait for the doctor's post-mortem report.
I have seen and read stories in the media, including the Monitor, which quoted his father as having said that his son was poisoned. The allegation that he was poisoned, speaking as a medical doctor, is not correct, is not true. He has died of a natural illness.
Jane Nyiramchia, reporting for UBC in Kampala.
The Secretary General of the ruling NRM party, Richard Tadwong, has alerted all party members in Parliament to express interest for the position of speakership of the 11th Parliament, which fell vacant after the demise of the Speaker, the late Jacob Oulanyah. Tadwong has notified all members that the party will in due course convene to lay down modalities for the flagship process, as voting for the Speaker is tentatively scheduled for Friday this week. We have the details.
That now the office of the Speaker is vacant.
Finally, the debate on when the position of the Speaker of the 11th Parliament will be filled seems to be freezing as plans continue being unveiled.
Before the official burial commences. And one of them is, of course, we need to start the process of electing a new Speaker so that there is a new Speaker in the House to receive the body of our brother when he comes. And that is the process that is ongoing. And because of that, government has issued a notice to announce the vacancy of the Speaker of Parliament, and due to that, the party has also started the process of preparing itself to have another Speaker elected.
The NRM Secretary General Richard Tadwong has addressed UBC on the progress.
The National Chairman of the National Resistance Movement Party has called for the meeting of the Central Executive Committee of the party on Wednesday at midday. And after that, on Thursday, we shall have the caucus meeting. And then we believe, according to the timetable from government, by Friday, there will be an election of the Speaker. So that by the time the body of our brother arrives, there is a new Speaker in office to receive the body and to chair the session of Parliament as the body lies in state.
Tadwong now alerts all party members to start expressing interests starting this Tuesday.
Because of the time frame, because the Central Executive Committee meeting has already been called for Wednesday, and the caucus is for Thursday, and most likely the election is going to take place on Friday, according to the schedules of government. That means the party only has one day to announce the vacancy to its members in Parliament, for the members who wishes to contest for the position to express their interest in writing within one day. And we are sure, we know our members, we know everybody, we have their CVs. It's very easy for us now to sieve through those who would have expressed interest.
According to the pattern government, the whole House of Parliament will convene this Friday to elect the Speaker, a position the ruling NRM is convinced will have to secure using its numerical strength in the 11th Parliament. Robert Onyango, UBC News.
The death of Speaker of Parliament Jacob Oulanyah, Article 82 of the Constitution states that no business can be carried out when the position of Speaker is vacant. Currently, several legislators are bracing up for the election. Several meetings have been held at Parliament, and available information shows that election of Speaker will be conducted on Friday, the 25th this week.
The country waits the return of the body of Speaker Jacob Oulanyah. Business at Parliament is on hold owing to Article 82 of the Constitution that bars Parliament from conducting any business when Speaker's office is vacant. This means that until a new Speaker is elected, there will not be any business in Parliament.
Speaker and Deputy. Although the text seems to differ from the spirit, what I've explained is the spirit of this law. But the text seems to be strict. So we shall wait for the leadership of Parliament to give us guidance as we move. I'm not one of those that are anxious to hurry in electing a Speaker. My view is that we need a mourning period to have a good send-off for our brother, and then we come back to business.
Fortunately, because of the importance of Parliament, we must constitute Parliament even before the mourning continues.
Some legislators have already showed interest for the position of the Speaker. It is not clear, though, whether the Deputy Speaker, Anita Mong, will contest.
It is me, the last man standing. And for those who got their positions, let them maintain those positions. Unless you talk about greed, but they haven't even warmed up their seats. It is only me who has remained standing. It is me who is available. And now that it is these circumstances that finds me able and available, I'll certainly offer myself at the appropriate time.
We should provide candidates to both offices. And I have told my colleagues, and I will call them, if there is nobody in opposition who wants to stand either for deputy, of course I can only offer myself to one. For me, I am available, because you can't allow NRM to nominate themselves and just sit to watch. So I am consulting with the head of opposition. I hope we'll be able to provide candidates. But if you can arrive at consensus, that will be the best for this Parliament.
It does not require the Deputy Speaker to resign if she wants to contest. It is specific on who should. Again, that's another question of the letter and spirit. Because apparently it was envisaging a situation where there is no speaker. I mean, somebody would ask, why would it require others to resign, including those that are less in hierarchy? But because it does not require her to resign, she's not required to resign.
So she can still vie for the position?
Absolutely. When she wins, of course, she vacates automatically. We elect a deputy. If she loses, she goes back to her seat.
Article 81 states that the Chief Justice or a judge designated by the Chief Justice shall preside on election of Speaker. This means also that the ruling NRM party, which has majority members in the House, will select a successor to the deceased. Available information shows that the NRM party has set Tuesday 22nd as the date for expression of interest for the position of Speaker. Then, on Wednesday, SEC will meet, and then Thursday, NRM Parliamentary caucus will convene. On Friday, 25th, election of the Speaker will be conducted. On the other hand, Acholi MPs say it's not proper to start campaigning while the country is still mourning the death of Speaker Jacob Lokore Olanya.
Minister for Presidency, Millie Babalanda, is set to address the nation tomorrow on the burial program of the fallen Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya. Shamim Naiga, UBC News.
Earlier on, we did interact with Bujiri Municipality Member of Parliament, Asman Basalirwa, who shared with us an insight on when and how the Speaker of Parliament can be filed under such circumstances of his absence from death. Take a look.
I want to express my sympathies to the people of Uganda, the Parliament of Uganda, the people of Omoro upon the loss of the Speaker. It is a very sad moment for the country, and we pray that the Almighty God strengthens everybody in these difficult times. Number two, it is true that now the office of the Speaker is vacant. The Constitution is very clear. No business can be transacted in Parliament if that office is vacant. And if there is any business to be conducted, that business must be about election of a Speaker. And the Constitution gives that responsibility to the Chief Justice. So it is now up to the Chief Justice to take charge of the situation, provide guidance, give guidelines and regulations to be followed. Otherwise, there is nothing that can happen on the floor of the House. Nobody can call any parliamentary sitting to discuss any matter unless there is a speaker in place.
Honorable, is there a time frame given for this? We all know the speaker, the dead speaker has to come to Parliament.
No, there is no time frame. The Constitution does not give any time frame. Although circumstances demand that it should be treated as a matter of urgency. Otherwise, there will be a crisis if Parliament is unable to convene to discuss matters of the country. Secondly, it will be an embarrassment if the body of the late Speaker comes and it cannot be taken to Parliament to pay tribute simply because there is no Speaker. So even if the law is silent on the timelines, it is a matter of urgency. And I only hope that those responsible regard it as a matter of urgency and immediately set into process of electing the Speaker.
Can in this case the Chief Justice preside over the session?
National Unity Platform Party President Robert Chagulanyi has asked government to empower the health sector of Uganda and avoid future expenses of acquiring health treatment abroad. Chagulanyi reflects on the recent sadness of the death of the former Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, who died from the United States of America, having gone to attend to medical treatment.
In 2017, the former celebrated Ugandan musician Chagulanyi Sentamu alias Bobby Wine took interest to participate in a by-elections in Chadondo East, which saw the Kamwecha raised and dubbed ghetto leader walk out with a milestone victory. By then, the late Jacob Oulanyah was the Deputy Speaker of Parliament.
When I met him at Parliament, it was just the second time. I had met him some 5 years or more before. He was a jolly guy, and when I met him at Parliament, he was, more serious, but still a humorous person.
Robert Chagulanyi, who is a musician by profession, was always present to entertain the teammates at Parliament whenever needed.
We danced paka chini, we had fun, but now it's just a memory.
The 2 years Chagulanyi spent in the August House were enough for him to describe the positive legacy of his former boss, the late Jacob Oulanyah.
We are the kinds of people that want people to be free to express themselves, although we always encourage them to do so respectfully.
Chagulanyi wants government to put focus and emphasis on improving the health sector to that standard where the late Oulanyah went to seek for specialized treatment. This, to Bobby, will equip the Ugandan health infrastructure to handle emergencies.
Acholi land has lost a noble son, but it also reminds us of the need to fix our health care because he passed away in Seattle, away from his children, from his loved ones. And yet we could have fixed our hospitals. And
the late Jacob Oulanyah died on March 20th, 2022 from a hospital in the United States of America. Daniel Mugoya, UBC News.
President of the Forum for Democratic Change Party, Engineer Patrick Amuriatoboy, has urged government to consider increasing investment in the health sector, saying it is regrettable that the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, had to die abroad while receiving treatment. Addressing a press conference at the party headquarters in Najanankumbi, Party President Oboy said the party has suspended all its activities to mourn the death of the fallen Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah.
Forum for Democratic Change has joined the rest of Ugandans to mourn the death of the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Jacob Oulanyah, who died on Sunday at 10:45 a.m. East African time in the state of Seattle in the United States of America. FDC President Patrick Amuriatoboy praised the late as a gifted politician whose oratory abilities were unmatched by very many politicians in the country.
Whose respect for diverse political opinions was evident in the manner in which he gave equal opportunities to members of Parliament on either side of the political divide. We remember Jacob as a competent lawyer and social worker who exuded benevolence and was always on the side of the law.
According to Amuriat, the late's political career started at Makerere University when he was elected Speaker of Students' Guild in 1990 under the leadership of Honorable Norbert Mao, currently President General of the Democratic Party. Despite his contribution to nation building, Oboy said that it was regrettable that the late Speaker Jacob Oulanyah died from abroad while on treatment.
That Right Honorable Oulanyah, like a number of prominent Ugandans, had to die while receiving treatment abroad, which continues to expose the poor health care facilities or systems in the country and necessitates the constant call on the NRM government to put more resources to the improvement of health facilities in the country.
FDC has postponed its mobilization activities in northern Uganda and will not discuss the issue of by-elections until the mourning and burial for the late is done.
Yes, is that if there is an election of the Speaker, and this is what I would want to see as a Chief Executive, that we participate as the FDC. My appeal would have been, if it is not legally fatal, that the NRM stops the process of election of Speaker until such a time that the Right Honorable Oulanyah Jacob Lokori is buried.
I'm Nafka Farida and Kenneth Tanaba at Najana Nkumbi.
The mood at the home of the fallen Speaker of Parliament in Muyenga, Kampala's suburb, remains somber, with very few people, mainly the family members and friends. There was no activity at the home of the fallen Speaker of Parliament at Muyenga by press time. Only grief-stricken songs kept playing the whole day, with few people coming in, most of whom were family members and friends. Take a look.
It was a moment of grief for the family members and friends that paid a visit to the home of the fallen Speaker of Parliament at Muyenga. By press time, there was no government official or members of Parliament or an official of the Paramount Chief of Acholi at Muyenga. There were only few people who thronged Oulanyah's home. One of those few friends that came to the home of the fallen Speaker of Parliament at Muyenga was a renowned veteran journalist, Andrew Muyenga. He described Oulanyah as an intelligent person who was going to make Parliament great.
He was an incredible intellectual, a robust intellectual, because we would spend hours debating politics, national, local, regional, global. And he also had, which is I think an aspect of the Acholi people, he was a very frank person. He was very straightforward. He could never say to you one thing and he does another. His no was a no, his yes was a yes.
Muyenga, who says he was close to Oulanyah for 28 years, described him as a kind man.
I met Jacob when he was a practicing lawyer around about 1994, when I was a first year student at university. And we instantly became friends. He was, my dad had been a senior supporter of UPC, and he was also a UPC supporter, so we were united through that history, and we became very good friends. So when I was a young journalist, I used to come to visit me a lot before he became an MP.
Others who were present include former CID boss Grace Akulo, Director Operation AIGP Edward Ochom, Director Crime Intelligence Brigadier General Christopher Damulira. Later in the evening, a few government officials, including some ministers, arrived at the home of the fallen Speaker of Parliament, and prayers are underway at the home. Philip Aguta, UBC News in Muyenga.
friend of mine. Someday I'll meet him in the skies, this wonderful friend of mine. He saves.
UBC News Tonight takes a very short break. We still have more stories in store. Stay tuned.
Pay for your dream phone, Mpola. Get your dream phone today for as low as 1,400 Uganda shillings with free data for a year and pay slowly. All phones come with daily 50 MBs for 12 months. Repayment period is 1 year. Available at MTN service centers and M-Kopa shops.
COVID-19 is still here with us. As Professor Maggie Chigozi states, the time is now for all of us to get vaccinated.
When we have one person who's not vaccinated, it affects everybody around them, most especially the ones close to you. Keep your family safe. Anyone right now who's over 18 should go and get vaccinated.
Because of the new COVID-19 circulating variants like Omicron, it is very important for all of us to be fully vaccinated with 2 doses of the same vaccine type. It's only those getting Johnson & Johnson who receive only a single dose to be fully protected.
Even after vaccination, continue to adhere to all SOPs by wearing a mask properly, covering your mouth and nose, washing your hands regularly with soap and clean water or using an alcohol-based sanitizer, maintaining physical distance of at least 2 meters from others and avoiding crowds. Echa COVID-19, chija kugwa. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and partners.
Get connected today with the My Airtel 4G smartphone and enjoy free data for 1 whole year worth 86,500 Uganda shillings. That's free 2 GB for the first month and free 1 GB for the next 11 months at only Uganda shillings with free data for 1 whole year worth 86,500 shillings, making the effective price of the 4G phone 163,500 shillings only. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome back from that break, and we're glad that you're still watching UBC News Tonight. I'm Lorraine Masika Kazumoto and Elizabeth Nakakoni on sign language interpretation. Now, with more stories, the former Chief Justice of Uganda, Bat Magunda Katurebe, has described the late Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, as a man who was promising and with a well-established legal brain. His eulogy is complementary to that of a section of members of Parliament who have described the deceased Speaker as irreplaceable. We have the details.
Right Honorable Jacob Oulanyah had been our Vice Chair for the NRM in Northern Uganda.
One legislator after another, Jacob Oulanyah has been remembered with such befitting eulogies.
Because it has happened is a serious issue, but what I have seen here
easy. This is too much, because to lose a speaker who is number 3 in this country like this is not okay.
We as people of Bududa, we have made a big loss, because the late Right Honorable Olanya was our in-law.
The latest public figure to join Ugandans in mourning the fallen Speaker of Parliament is former Chief Justice of Uganda, Bat Magunda Katurebe.
It's a very sad day for all of us, I think. First, of course, my condolences to his immediate family, to his colleagues in Parliament, to his constituents, but really to the whole country.
Katurebe, who recalls his countless encounters with the deceased, regards him as an established legal brain with a promising future.
Both in the legal profession and in his political career. So I think we've lost someone at such a young age, when actually that's when he would be building up on his political career.
No wonder his death is considered the real meaning of untimely, to the extent that Uganda has lost a lot.
Jacob Olanya was, compared to me, I think was a young person. Because if he was born in 1965, that's when I was in Senior 1. So I was already 15 in Senior 1 and when he was being born, but you can see he has gone very too soon.
As the country mourns the fallen son of the soil, Katurebe calls for unity, to have the deceased successfully given a befitting send-off.
There is need for us to get together, because death comes to all of us. Today it is Jacob, tomorrow it is me, tomorrow it is somebody else. It doesn't matter. Death does not know titles, does not know age.
Jacob Lokori Olanya, who became the Speaker of the Ugandan Parliament in May 2021, died at Seattle in the United States of America. Henry Okrut, UBC.
The LDC director, Nigel Othembi, was beaten to a pulp after the news of the demise of his close friend, also the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Jacob Olanya. Othembi and Olanya went to Macquarie University and have been friends for quite some time, until his death parted the two on the 20th of March 2022. Sharon Chomgisha with more.
Nigel Othembi, the director of Uganda Law Development Center, cannot fathom the fact that his friend has died.
I had news of his passing on. I communicated to a group of ours, well, like 5 of us, and we called ourselves the Pentagon. And then one of my colleagues said, Frank, the Pentagon has become a square. And that really almost brought tears to my eyes, because one central pillar of the Pentagon was gone, and it was now a square. Jacob did economics at that time. Later, he went back and studied law. And we remained friends out in the field. We watched each other grow as far as our professions were concerned. And we have always continued to interact right up to the very end. Where do you start and where do you end? Jacob was a friend you could rely on. You could trust his word. If he told you, yes, Frank, I can do this, he would do it. And if he tells you I can't do it, you know he wouldn't be able to do it. He was a reliable person. He stood by his friends. He had your back. In whatever situation, you knew that Jacob would stand there for you. Jacob was also brutally honest. We know that in Uganda, there's this saying that the Wachiga are very honest and straight-speaking people. In that regard, I would say Jacob was a Mchiga from Acholiland. Yes, he was that kind of person, brutally honest with people. He didn't suffer fools easily. He got very irritated by people who were not meeting up to his standards in terms of keeping time, in terms of the quality of service delivery. He would get quite irritated. But he had two sides to him. He was also a very loving person, very caring, very mentoring. And Jacob was somebody who would talk to people from all ages, right? From the youthful teenagers to the people who are in their 80s and 90s. And he would fit across that.
When asked about his memories with Jacob Olanya, Othembi recalled him as a principled man who could not be compromised.
Last time I interacted with Jacob and spoke to him was actually about at the beginning of the year, just to say, Happy New Year, I hope everything is well with you. And he kept saying, you need to come over, we should sit together, we should have a drink. But that was almost 2 months ago. I never did get to have that drink. His health has since deteriorated, and we've not communicated since until I heard of his passing on. There he was uncompromising. He expected the highest quality in everything that one did in life. And if you didn't meet Jacob's high standards, you had problems with him. And lastly, Jacob believed in equality and equity. Jacob treated everybody equally. Jacob treated everybody fairly. Jacob had no regard for your tribe, your religion, your nationality. He didn't care about all those. And the thing that really inspired Jacob and that really brought out all his energy was finding a situation where there was injustice. That really brought out his energy. At whatever level, as a student leader, as a community leader, as a politician, he hated injustice wherever it was. And incidentally, much as Jacob subscribed to the NRM philosophy, Jacob was at ease and at home with everybody. And Jacob would defend any person, whatever your leanings, whatever your politics, if he felt somebody was being treated unfairly. And that was really the hallmark of Jacob.
Nigel Thembi believes that Jacob Oulanyah set precedents on matters of leadership and unity. The untimely death of the Speaker of the 11th Parliament, late Jacob Oulanyah, leaves many heartbroken about the man they thought would restore the image of Parliament.
Parliament, you recall some years back, before he became Speaker, when he was Deputy Speaker, Jacob said something about the quality of debate in the House and the quality of research that took place in the House. And as I said, Jacob was always interested in quality. So that was one area in which he really made an impact in terms of improving the quality of debate. For the legal profession, we have a big challenge of ethics in the profession and a big challenge of lawyers really doing all the wrong things in terms of handling clients, in terms of how we interact in court, in terms of how we respect the senior members of the profession. And Jacob was one of those people who stood for those principles that we hold dear in the legal profession. Miss Jacob, we all feel a big loss, a big part of us has gone, and we will always have a love for Jacob in our hearts. We pray for his family, we pray for his community, we pray for his friends, and we pray for the whole country.
Sharon Chomjisha, UBC News.
Thank you, Sharon, for that report. Now, the retired judge of the Supreme Court, Professor George Kanyihamba, has described the late Speaker of the Ugandan Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, who passed on Sunday in the United States, as a man of principles who loved others, as something he says was so tangible in his service as Deputy Speaker of Parliament for over a decade. Let's watch the memorable accounts of Professor Kanyihamba about the late Jacob Oulanyah.
I also saw him, as you have seen in that video, when he came to be guest of honor at the launching of my book, Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government. That's when I last saw him, talked to him. Jacob Oulanyah will live in the history of Uganda as a great giant or performer who made many changes possible. He was not fearless. He was loyal to his parties. From time to time, he was a member of UBC, and then latterly of the NRM. And none of the supporters of the UBC or NRM can accuse him of hypocrisy or having betrayed their respective principles. That is the measure of the man we are talking about. I want you to remember the greatest contributor to human development, Jesus Christ, who we Christians call the Son of God, lived on earth for only 3 years. He was 33. But what he achieved was enormous. If we Christians, we can say he was like Jesus. He lived for a short while, but his message will endure forever. Even as Deputy Speaker to Honorable Kadaga, Olanya was striking a very, very wonderful picture of integrity, honesty, and courage. Often he quarreled with his boss, Jas Kadaga. I'm told he had founded the chambers with someone else, but it is Olanya, Jacob, who comes through as a great performer. So his contribution to the legal profession was enormous, even though he didn't live very long. Take him and emulate him as an example of what public service is about, what service to a country means, and what role each individual can play in the development of our country, Uganda.
Uganda Law Society and the legal fraternity has mourned the death of the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, who passed away yesterday in Seattle State, USA. The President, Uganda Law Society, Fiona Nabasa-Wall, applauded the late Jacob Olanya's contribution to the Uganda Law Society.
The Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, yesterday Sunday morning passed on while in America, where he was rushed to save a life. Besides being a leader, Speaker Jacob Olanya locally was also a professional lawyer in making. Jacob Olanya was an experienced and professional lawyer who rendered legal services through Olanya and Honoria Company Advocates.
He's remembered so well during the time of the war in the north. He spearheaded legal aid to be provided to the people of the north in the years between 1998 and 2001.
He was passionate about legal aid, and earlier in his career he served in the legal aid project of Uganda Law Society in Gulu, and he did a lot of work there. And I think that inspired him, because later on he inspired a lot of young people that worked for him in his law firm to join the legal aid project.
And maybe the other thing about his character, when he decided to cross to the NRM, he crossed in broad daylight. He was a good lawyer. We shall miss him as a fraternity.
Fiona Nabasa-Wall, President, Uganda Law Society, recalls fallen Speaker Olanya as a pillar to Uganda Law Society.
He served as a council member for Uganda Law Society for 2 terms from 1998 to 2000. Actually, he was a man of passion, as I said. When he was passionate about something, it was very evident. When it was NRM, it was NRM. When it was Acholi people, it was Acholi people. When it was being passionate about the law and rule of law and increasing access to justice for the indigent.
Speaker Jacob Olanya was a friend, a mentor, a person who embraced the rule of law, and a role model to everyone, especially the younger lawyers.
And he used to talk about mindset change and the need for you to look at yourself, to look at the man in the mirror and address the corruption there, so that you have the moral authority to deal with corruption. And I think one of the things he used to tell us is that if none of us has the moral authority to fight corruption, then nobody will. And I'm hoping that as we remember him, we'll take a personal soul check and see whether we need our mindset changed.
The death of Speaker Jacob Olanya has affected lawyers in the legal fraternity.
So we are going to miss him. He has been having the law at his fingertips. He has been having the Constitution at his fingertips. He has been having the rules of procedure of Parliament at his fingertips.
But there is no single mistake he made in ignorance, because he would always read and grasp. He had a grasp of the law, especially the rules of procedure of Parliament. Whenever you met him outside Parliament, especially when he was unwell, he would tell you he would miss his bow tie and the rules of procedure. And at some point, the Deputy Speaker teased him and said, "I will appoint you chairman of the Rules Committee, since you love the rules so much." And he had mastered the rules.
Jacob Olanya was also lectured at Law Development Center, who left a legacy in whatever he did. Athingelo Thombi, Director, Law Development Center, highlights.
And even at the center, his colleagues would always say, "Oh, by the way, if Jacob was here, this wouldn't happen. If Jacob was here, the issues of integrity would be addressed." So he left a mark wherever he was.
Deborah Namamonde, Nantongo Rebecca, UBC News.
The Inspector General of Police, Martin Jones Okoth-Ochola, has eulogized the fallen Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, whose support and contribution to Uganda Police Force has described him as a mass. IGP's message was read by the police spokesperson, Fred Enanga.
The Inspector General of Police, on behalf of the police fraternity, extended sympathies and deepest condolences to the family, friends, members of Parliament, staff, colleagues, and constituents of the Right Honourable Speaker, Jacob Oulanyah, who passed on yesterday. We all know that the Right Honourable Speaker, Jacob Oulanyah, was a very formidable, distinguished and outstanding leader who was respected and admired in the Uganda Police Force for his kindness and tremendous generosity of spirit. So even today we continue to mourn his passing. He left a legacy as a fighter for this country. His fundamental good and honor will always live on. As the UPF, we offer our gratitude to him for his vision, commitment, and support towards building a police force that is admirable in Uganda. We shall forever remain proud and grateful to the Right Honourable Speaker Jacob Oulanyah. May his soul rest in eternal peace and glory.
Legislators from northern Uganda under the umbrella caucus, the Northern Uganda Parliamentary Caucus, continue to break down in tears as they make a tale count of how special the late Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, was to them. We have more details in this report.
The country is in grief following the death of the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, who passed on yesterday in Seattle, USA. At Parliament, the mood is somber following the death of the head of the institution. Security personnel, staff, journalists, MPs are seemingly disheartened, discussing in groups.
Everybody in the world, I weep with my depth heart. I pray that everybody in Uganda now, those ones who are ready to condone with us, please condone with us.
As a gentleman who was very time conscious, was a very good timekeeper. Whenever he would be in chair, you would see everybody panicking in committees, because at 2, he would even come before the bell rings. So we shall miss him.
All flags at Parliament flew at half-mast following the President's directive for all flags in the country to fly at half-mast until the fallen Speaker is buried. Legislators from the Acholi sub-region have described Oulanyah as a hard-working person they will miss dearly.
Fortunately, we have lost him. And as a member of the Acholi Parliamentary Group, we knew the Right Honourable Jacob Oulanyah as a very firm, very principled, and very honest guy. And for me, who worked with the local government for about 15 years, I enjoyed working with him. He was more of a bridge. Every time I needed help as a local government leader, I would run to him.
Oulanyah came up so boldly and spoke about corruption before His Excellency the President. He told the President that I am corrupt. Everybody in Uganda is corrupt. My wife is corrupt. Everybody is corrupt. Can anybody who think he is not corrupt come up and say, yes, I'm not corrupt? Oulanyah was so a bold man. Oulanyah didn't fear anybody.
Oulanyah, who was also MP for Moro County, Moro District, died at the age of 57 and was elected as Speaker on 21st May 2021.
Please, I stand here to apologize if he has done anything wrong to you. And for those who have done wrong to Oulanyah, we have forgiven you. We have forgiven you. I speak as a mother. I speak as a woman who have lost a son. I've lost my brother. I've lost him. Oulanyah is irreplaceable.
Shamim Naiga, Gloria Gutabenji, UBC News.
Enjoy convenience today with Airtel Money School Pay. Dial *185#. Select option 6, school fees. Select option 2, school pay. Select option 1, pay fees. Enter student number. Enter the amount. Enter the PIN number to complete payment. Beat the back-to-school hustle today. Pay school fees conveniently using Airtel Money. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
Where does it come from? That thing that makes us Ugandan. That thing that makes us different from everybody else. Where does it grow infinitely? Some say it's in our history, in our culture, and in our hearts, in our warm smiles and vast miles of coffee, dairy farmland, and amazing maize fields. It's in our inherent pursuit to always be better, to never stop growing and glowing. So you see, we are more than just a waving flag. We are a nation of sweat and skills, a nation of ideas and inventions. But what truly makes us Ugandan is our quest to improve the quality of life for Ugandans by creating sustainable jobs, businesses, and improving household incomes. That's what makes us Uganda Development Bank.
Uganda Development Bank, inspiring development.
Need to send money to a loved one but you don't have enough on your phone? Have you run out of fuel but you don't have enough money? Do you want to pay for yaka or water but have insufficient funds? Or do you want to shop but you don't have enough money? Don't worry, get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Welcome back from that break. Moving on to more stories, veteran legislator Cecilia Atimogwal has described the fallen Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Jacob Oulanyah, as a giant who has left a footprint in the politics of Uganda. Cecilia Ogwal, who went emotional, said the late Speaker was one of the best legislators the country had, adding that Oulanyah was a master in a type of debate called field busting, a skill possessed by few. Take a look.
If you come and shout even for a whole week and you have not touched any of the things that have meaning to me, the day you leave is the day I forget you.
Born on the 23rd of March 1965 in Gulu district, Jacob Lokorio Olanya, now the late, was a member of Uganda People's Congress. Veteran legislator Cecilia T. Mogwal recalls how she caught up with the fallen speaker as a student leader.
The kind of leadership that we wanted, and indeed I was not disappointed.
Mogwal said she first wept when Olanya was shot at during a strike at Makerere.
And Jacob was one of those injured. He lost one of his friends, a boy from Acholi. The boy died in that student protest, but Olanya was one of those injured. I always looked to him as my child. I would give him assignment as I would give to any of my children. He would do it.
Olanya, who began politics as a student, was elected MP for Moro County in 2001, although he did not make it in 2006.
It was not because he was a weak politician to have lost that election. But the Acholis and the Langis and everybody at that time were not very comfortable about the manner in which the government handled the northern affairs. And so he was a victim of circumstances.
In 2011, he reclaimed the seat, which he held until he breathed his last on 20th.
And when you see Olanya getting tough, there is something wrong, and fundamentally wrong. And Olanya would engage the government and sometimes get the government to change its way and comply to the law. So Olanya helped the government a lot.
Ogwal says Olanya was a giant in the politics of Uganda and a master in a type of debate called filibustering.
Engage Parliament and get Parliament to keep quiet and listen to you. You are talking very powerfully on a matter, and people are listening and nodding and nodding. And then you go on the other side, people are nodding. You say, this is a very balanced person. Eventually, when you say I, you haven't understood what you have said. That is, we are going to miss it in this, even this Parliament, we are going to miss it because I haven't seen it on anyone.
What else will be missed from the person of Jacob Olanya?
Understanding the rules of procedure.
Olanya is very frank. Olanya will tell you the truth of what is supposed to be done.
I love the way he was very flexible, the way he was studying the wind of politics.
Make a balanced argument, you will be able to convince rather than force people to follow his ideas.
Eddie Olwa, UBC News.
Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament.
"26-year-old Onyong Yubu will never forget how the former Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, turned his world. Yubu, who met the late Speaker 9 years ago, boasts of having completed his bachelor's course at Uganda Christian University, courtesy of the late Olanya. Yubu recounts the light moments with his former boss, who met him at a musical performance at a function in Gulu district. Our own Daniel Muyenga engaged with Onyong Yubu in an interesting conversation in Parliament.
The friends we have right now, the connections that our children will have.
9 years ago, Onyong Yubu was 17 years old when he met the late former Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya. Yubu was a gospel artist who had traveled from Lira district to Gulu to perform at a Miss Tourism function in northern region, of which the late Olanya was in attendance.
I saw a gentleman walk to me. I didn't know he was the one. He came, he greeted me. He was like, "How are you, young boy?" I said, "I'm fine." He told me, "But you're young. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be sleeping." I told him, I told him funny that, you know what, you can't call somebody's husband a child.
The late Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, exchanged contacts with Yubu. Little did Yubu know that he was actually talking to the then Deputy Speaker of Parliament.
I was not in politics, so I had not known. So when I saw a convoy, I asked, "But who are you?" He told me, "Don't worry. What matters is how I'm going to work with you to make you be someone."
A month later, the late Olanya visited Lira, the hometown of Onyong Yubu.
The whole convoy went to my home. My mom cried, "You have done what, policemen?" I had nothing. All neighbors came around home to see what had happened. I sent him to my mom. He went, he sat down on veranda, in the veranda.
And met your mom?
Yes, I met my mom.
Your father wasn't around?
No, he wasn't around. No, I'm a single parent boy.
Okay.
Yeah. So from there, he talked. He told my mom how he met me, and that's when I knew who he is. And he explained completely to my mom who he was. That's when I started getting excited. Now, I believed what the member of parliament told me. He told me, you know what, I'm going to take care of this boy from today.
And indeed, the late Olanya fulfilled his promise to the family of Yobo, who is now a university graduate of journalism and mass communication from Uganda Christian University, Mukono.
Because they had asked me, you're supposed to be preparing to go to school. I told him I need to go. So when
Which level were you by then?
No, by then I was still in high school.
He has got a unique height, which to a stranger contradicts his age, but this did not in any way stop the former Speaker of Parliament from paying attention to this eloquent young man.
I don't see, actually I see growing tall like it's a disease, because the fact that short people, it's hard for them to fall because they've been near the ground surface. I feel it's much better for me.
While looking for space for his internship, Yubu did not hesitate to call his great friend Jacob Olanya, who secured him a place at Parliament.
Being a deputy speaker or a speaker, I didn't used to show off with him, because being the fact that he was my friend, I needed to give him the privacy. You know, when you over show off with someone, the backfire comes back to you. Right now that is there, is not there. If I'd over showed off, the backfire would be coming. How would I be living in an institution like this?
At the time of the death of former Speaker Jacob Olanya, the courageous Yobu is one of the active and famous personnel handling protocol at Parliament.
The first time I met Deputy Speaker, I was deployed in Fort Portal. She was going there. She had never seen me. She said, who was sending a kid to my convoy? What are we going to explain in case of anything? Then honorable, some members went to him and told him, Madam, he's not young. He came with us, he's part of us. I think she felt bad within herself. So when we came back, she called me to her house. She told me, I want to meet this boy. She called me, told me, Yubo, are you seriously, you're not young?
Yubo, currently 26 years old, says the little time he spent with his former boss enabled him to not only network with high-profile people, but he also borrowed a leaf from the late Olanya's outstanding leadership.
Of which I know, with God's favor, everyone will keep me around here. They will make me happy. I know, with time.
Daniel Mugoya, Gloria Gwitabinji, UBC News.
Well, clearly you've seen much of impact that the late Speaker Jacob Olanya has done for so many people in Uganda. We will dearly, dearly miss him. Well, UBC News tonight has come to an end. We do thank you so much for your company. Do enjoy the rest of UBC Television's programming. I'm Lorene Masika Kazumoto and Elizabeth Nakakoni on sign language interpretation. We leave you with Juliet with our weather forecast for tomorrow. Good night.
Hello, good evening. Glad you had a wonderful day. Today we have celebrated the World International Forestry Day. Tomorrow we shall have the World Water Day, and on 23rd we shall celebrate the World Meteorological Day as the Ministry of Water and Environment in Mbarara at Mayor's Gardens. Back to today's weather, we've had different parts of the country have rains. Jinja reported 4.7 millimeters, Kawale 2 millimeters, Kotido 0.3, and Arua reported 0.1 millimeters. From the satellite image that is taken over our continent, it indicates that the rain belt is covering some parts of our country, most especially in the southern sector. We also have a push of moist winds from Congo forests towards our country, and also moist winds are coming from Indian Ocean towards Uganda, contributing to these wet activities in different parts of Uganda. For tomorrow morning, we shall have a pickup of showers for areas in the southern sector of our country, in the lake, together with areas in West Nile. Elsewhere, we shall have sunny intervals prevail. Later in the afternoon, we shall have a pickup of showers in different parts of our country, apart from a few areas in northwestern and southwestern Uganda, where we shall have sunny intervals. The maximum temperatures are expected to go up to 32 degrees centigrade for the northern sector together with the Karamoja region. Around the lake, we shall have temperatures up to 27 degrees centigrade. For Kampala, it will be at 26 degrees centigrade. Kabale Highlands, a maximum of just 23 degrees is expected. If you intend to go beyond Uganda, we shall have showers in Dar es Salaam and Nairobi and a temperature of 34 degrees centigrade in Dar es Salaam. Cairo and New York will experience sunny intervals, whereas Amsterdam will have sunny conditions and a temperature of 18 degrees centigrade. Thank you for keeping us company. Join us tomorrow for another edition of The Weather. Have a wonderful night ahead of you.
live from the UBC Auditorium is proudly brought to you by...
No, we lost you. You wish.
Okay, how has being in a relationship changed your life?
In what way? The bad girl way?
Oh, the bad girl was on a tour.
Anyway, how has it changed my life? What are you saying?
To what did the church you say?
You're answerable to someone. Maybe that. Knowing that you're committed to someone. Maybe you could take a position limiting on the side of love and relationship. It's a beautiful feeling because luckily enough it's a new journey. It's a blessing katonda yampa ogw'omukisa. Naye how has it been a new journey in my music? Tewali kikyuse. I still have to do my music. To me music mbanga akola. Ngenda ku mulimu nenkola ne bansasula ne zireka ne feeding abaana bange.
What has been like your biggest lesson? Because I know as you grow there are people you find yourself cutting off. You understand? And there are people you find yourself relating with because probably have you have a few things in common. So for you, what has been your lesson thus far?
Sometimes, okay, there are many lessons. Naturally, as we go the journey, but one thing chenaiga is olumuntu kitwala mbubi n'ogabana I've lost my friends oboli bichi but it's a natural process. Process by process. It's a natural process.
Yes.
In the sense that bwoba ogenda mu maaso waliwo abajjovaako. Like me being other kati waliwo ebintu bye sitasobola kukola kati ngoyo fiki nankubira nti jantu tugendeko out izo nga taata enkyo omwana agenda ku sukulu bw'aba talanga akongokako journey goes. We are naturally meant to lose people in life. Bobo genda mu maaso kyenalaba kiringa omuti, you know they are growing, the branches zivaako ne ku bimuli ekimuli after ne kiblooming. So naturally kyenayiga kweno journey it is too human okulosing emikwano